Hey y'all, what's good? Brad and Josh. I'm Josh and I've got Brad with you. If I can remember my name. Coming to you from the Casual Planeswalker, and today we are going to be talking about the Arclight Phoenix card and what we think about it. Before we get things going today, though, I want to remind you to like this video if you enjoy watching me yammer on about things and watching Brad uh, sort of austerely looking over it and providing his sage-like opinions on my crazy ideas. And if you do enjoy it, be sure to subscribe to these videos and click that little bell if you want to know every time we do cool stuff like this and we upload videos. You can be the first to see it, and you can have a great time doing that. And as a side note, one last little bit, we are giving away our casual guide to deck building right now. It's a book we sold about 9 years ago. Had a lot of fun with it. We had it professionally done. It's a digital ebook. It's not a real book. We're not mailing you things for free. Come on, people. But it is a digital book. It's about 100 pages long. It's really, really nice, actually. It's really pretty. It's beautiful. We had a graphic designer go through it, did all the backgrounds and stuff like that. We used to sell it for $30, but it's yours for free now. No strings attached type stuff. You can just have it if you want it. Let me know. We will put a link in the description to the video. If you would like that, just respond down there. Let me know you want it, and we'll give it to you. So,
What's up, everybody?
So, today we were going to talk about the card called the Arclight Phoenix. It's a 4-cost, 1 red and 3 colorless, flying haste. And it's only a 3/2, so it's really not that big of a deal. Flying haste 3/2 for 3 and colorless, right? Oh wait, hang on. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast 3 or more instant and or sorcery spells, I believe is what Magic is trying to say, and sorcery spells this turn, return Arclight Phoenix, because the way that says, you have to have both of them. Doesn't it? Doesn't that mean that if you say and? Because it's or it would mean either. Am I reading that grammatically wrong?
I don't know.
Side thing here. I mean, you would say
Let's call the judge.
Judge, please. Anyway, sorcery spells this turn. Return Arclight Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah. So, not crazy broken or anything. Just at the beginning of combat, have a 3/2 flying haste for free.
Most likely at least 2 or 3 flying 3/2s with haste that your opponent didn't know were coming.
Well, I mean, I think once you put it in the graveyard, your opponent knew they were about to lose.
Seems like it.
Am I wrong here? This card seems wildly broken.
I feel like somebody at Wizards, it must be their job to just think of the next cool Phoenix. They've been really good at designing Phoenixes lately.
Yeah,
they're really fun.
Phoenix.
Yeah, I love
really
the flavor of them. The whole flavor of a Phoenix is so cool. Like, rising from the graveyard, basically, rising from the ashes, being reborn. And they're just thinking of new ways to do it. I just really like that. I love the art on this, too. It's very beautiful.
See, I felt like Rekindling Phoenix, which was, for the record, a 4-cost, again, 2 red, 2 colorless, was a little bit crazy, It's a flying 4/3. When it dies, create a 0/1 red elemental creature token with, at the beginning of your upkeep, sack this creature and return its card name Rekindling Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn. That's kind of crazy. But I feel like it's still within the realm of, I don't know. I mean, my fiance plays them, and, I don't feel like the game's over when she plays them. I feel like it's probably over, and I need to start coming up with some serious answers quick. And my favorite green standard deck just doesn't seem to have that many answers to the Rekindling Phoenix other than nod your head, say good game, and move on. But this Arclight Phoenix, this is nuts. This is insane. That is a 3/2. I don't know. What's your take on the standard format with it?
It's very, very popular. Lots of people are playing it in Is It, and it it just does a lot of things really, really well. It's definitely very powerful. Um, One thing of note is that it coming back into play is an ability, so it can't be countered. So it gets around a lot of control stuff. It's discarded usually as a cost of playing another spell, so you can't even counter. Even if you countered like Chart of Course, discard. Well, actually, no. I guess you could counter Chart of Course, but some of the effects you're discarding to like Jumpstart, right? You can use Arclight Phoenix to pay the discard part of the Jumpstart cost. And so it's going into your graveyard where you want it anyways, and they can't really say anything about it because it's part of the cost. So it gets around counters, which is really interesting. And I just heard this today listening to Corey Baumeister play it. He loves this card. And he brought up that it avoids Ixalan's binding. So Ixalan's binding, if you don't know, I'm sure you do, but it's an enchantment that exiles a permanent or exiles a specific type of permanent, whatever. It's an enchantment, comes down, it kind of, it's one of those things like Oblivion Ring from back in the day where it kind of like gets put under the card, and the addition with Ixalan's binding is that the player can't play that card anymore for the rest of the game. As long as Ixalan's binding is like binding that card, the player can't be played. But Arclight Phoenix actually gets around that because you're not playing
It's
it.
an ability.
Yeah,
Ew.
so even if they Ixalan's binding one of your Arclights, which removes it, which is bad for this kind of card, right? You want the Phoenix, like that's the answer to Phoenixes is removing them from the game, exiling them. But most, White's probably the best at it with like Path to Exile type stuff and Ixalan's binding. So it's a good answer in theory to the Arclight Phoenix, but it doesn't actually work because it's an ability, and so you're never casting the spell. So pretty amazing.
I mean, it turns into a really expensive removal for one card.
Right,
So
right, right.
Ixalan's binding works if you're going to lose in the
Right.
sense that it deals with one of the threats. Although,
Yep.
like you said, there's a good chance there's two, maybe even three coming at you straight out of the graveyard. So you have to deal with each one of those individually, which is something
Mm.
that Standard just does not have a lot of tools to do with.
So the best answer to Arclight Phoenix is a card called Settle the Wreckage, which
Yeah.
removes all attacking creatures from the game. So it's like mass removal, and it's at instant speed, but then they get to go get that
That's
many
going to be
lands and put them
rotating
in
out,
play.
though. Doesn't that rotate out in December?
I don't know. I don't pay
Excellent.
attention.
Excellent just rotates out in December.
Okay.
So that's only an answer for another 40 days,
Hmm.
or when the sets rotate.
Interesting.
So I don't know if I'm correct in that. Um, that you I don't know what you're gonna do once Settle the Wreckage moves out of Standard though.
Hmm. Yeah. It's just a really, really good card. It can be abused in a lot of ways. It's not horrible just if you play it. I mean, 3/2 flying haste,
But
not terrible.
and this is another side note though, if you know you're playing against White, you know they're probably running Settle the Wreckage if they're playing competitively. You also
Hmm.
know that they're probably running some Ixalan's Binding. So
Hmm.
if that's the case, if you do know that they're only running, or you know that they're probably running Settle the Wreckage, what you say is, I'm not going to dump more than one into my graveyard at a time. You sit and
That's
hold on
true.
to the suckers. So
That's true.
it's sitting in your hand, dump one at a time. That Settle the Wreckage is still a 4 cost removal for one card. If you
Mm-hmm.
play, if you're smart about the way you play into that, you can prevent yourself from getting blown out completely.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. It's still they kind of it's weird because now you're rolling into that white control territory where they're modifying the tempo of the game,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. Seems like it's doable. You know, worst case scenario, you're still hitting with a 4-3. Like
Hmm.
that's, I mean, or 3-2. Excuse me, 3-2. The Rekindling Phoenix was the 4-3. Um, I mean, I don't know. To me, that's a pretty crazy little deal there. It looked like when I was just doing some little background research on it really quick that it was getting popular in the blue-red Drake's build.
Yeah, yeah, it's nasty in that deck.
Like,
um, yeah, I mean that's those three creatures. So there's two drakes, crackling drake, an enigma drake, and then it's Arclight Phoenix. Those are the creatures in the deck. You know, that's the team basically.
hmm
Four enigma drakes, four Arclight Phoenix, four crackling drakes. That's the team, and they all work together very, very well. There's a lot of drawing and discarding, so you're like rifling through your cards very quickly. You're often discarding a Phoenix, which you don't mind discarding at all. I mean, I've watched a lot of like really good players play that deck, and almost never do they actually hard cast Arclight Phoenix.
hmm
Like you're so free to do whatever you want with Arclight Phoenix because you basically don't have to even consider casting it for its cost.
Because you
It's
will never
pretty
need
rare.
to. You're
Yeah,
almost
you can.
hurting yourself if you do because it's not difficult. All of your cards are designed to get him into the graveyard.
Hmm.
It's almost more
And
difficult to try to pull him out, and you'll end up, or not. It's more difficult to cast him because you're losing the ability to cast all your other stuff to get your
exactly.
activity moving there. You're losing so much speed. You're falling behind. I mean, you lose your fourth turn completely doing that.
And the really crazy thing with Arclight Phoenix, because you're blue red, you're Izzet, and you're rifling through all of your deck, is it's quite easy to get two or three of them out in one turn. So you're discarding Chart of Course, you know, and then you jumpstart, blah 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 blah, and you discard two Phoenixes, and now they both come back for the same price, for the same, you know, ability, which is did you play three spells, which obviously a red and blue deck can play three spells very easily. Did you play three spells? Okay, now as many Phoenixes as you have in the graveyard are all coming back out. So
hmm
now you could have three. You could have three threes, swinging for 9 with haste. Your opponent played through their whole turn and had all the information, but they didn't know there were going to be three Phoenixes swinging at them. That's 9 damage coming. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's silly. See, and now when I looked at it though, my first thought, if I play more modern than anything else, I looked at that and I was like, this card's going to be able to hit some pretty heavy stuff in modern immediately because we've got a lot of opportunities in what's traditionally the storm deck with a little bit of modifications, actually dropping out the storm elements, still using the things like the Manamorphose, the Faithless Lootings, and all those. You're basically just running free cards just to roll mana through, and then you eventually put a creature out for free, and in the process, you put a couple like just random beef creatures in there. I looked up a card. Actually, they call it Runaway Red. It just recently, like as in 3 weeks ago, won in Columbus in Modern. Um, it's running the Monastery Swift Spear. It's again the Steamkin, the Arclight Phoenix, and then you know Bedlam Reveler, Bedlam Reveler, a bunch of those things. Desperate Rituals, Lightning Bolts, Faithless Lootings, um, a Risk Factor, which was a massive card also coming out here. That's a silly one. Anyway, this is a serious modern deck though. It like this card single like I mean I guess you've got a little bit of other you're mixing it up with like the Steamkin and stuff like that and Risk Factor. But I mean all in all this is a pretty serious addition you've got here. Uh, I mean, you're taking a deck. I mean, I think in a lot of ways it's replacing the mechanics of the Storm deck and making it a much more uh, sort of resilient deck. I think. I mean, I know it's not Storm anymore, obviously, but it's turning it into something that's way more resilient than Storm. Storm is like you got a couple counters, it's just like dead. You've got nothing now. Like if you can count, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think you're talking about like the rituals, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the part of the storm that's still in this deck,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like is rituals where I'm just gonna like ramp up my mana, keep
Right.
playing, and then get a million mana. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's Storm. I'm saying I think it replaces the competitive spot in
yeah,
Modern that I mean, the arguably competitive spot in Modern where Storm was able to, and it doesn't have nearly the vulnerability to like board clear and stuff like that. Now you do have more Path to Exile and stuff like that, and some details. But at the end of the day, you've got so many other threats that are still rolling out there. The Phoenix is just another one of the threats, is the thing with this deck. That's more than happy to dump things into the graveyard and is just, I don't know. I'm really
Yeah,
excited about it. And so, as is
yeah,
everybody else, because the card just shot up to about $100. So, man,
yeah.
hopefully at the time you're watching this, it might have come down a little bit. I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, it's a pretty card though. Man, if I'd have been paying attention a month ago, I'd have been scooping those things up because that's just a card that it's one of those. Some cards there do really well. It's like, oh, this is a card that's going to be perfect in Modern because it's got blah 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 in it. Um,
Hmm.
but or because it interacts really well with this card, or like, oh, this is a bomb standard card, but it just doesn't quite have the reach to make it into Modern, um, for one reason or another. There's a removal spell or whatever that just easily takes it out, but this card just transcends all of that. I don't think anything's ever going to break into Legacy anymore. Maybe. But unless it completely breaks the game in some silly way, nothing really is going to touch Legacy, but that's fine. Legacy is its own game. So I feel like it's a good time for last thoughts on it, though. Brad, if you had any other thoughts or comments or last opinions or thumbs up, thumbs downs, or.
I mean, honestly, this card singly made me actually consider playing Izzet. I've never really been a big fan of Izzet. Um, I have like kind of like a weak Izzet deck that I bought, like a pre-constructed, supposed to be competitive, and it was kind of doing the same idea, but I don't know, it's just not really my thing. But Arclight Phoenix actually makes me want to play Izzet. Pretty cool.
That's a good thing because Izzet's pretty cool, and the original Ravnica Guild was one of my most favorite early game or early in my Magic career decks or not decks, but just guilds that ever came out, and I wanted so desperately for it to be good. But really, unless you were just running the old Niv Mizzet, I don't think there was too much going on. Like,
Mm-mm.
and the old Niv Mizzet was good, but it was too slow and it wasn't big enough. Anyway, I'm excited because, like you said, it makes Izzet an actual viable guild, and I might have to play some standard. I gotta be honest. This seems like the kind of thing that might have to get into. I can get behind this kind of card. So
Yeah.
so that wraps it up for this card, and we hope you enjoyed this, and also hope you have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Peace.